Hi, everybody. Happy Monday. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. Honey, it is like it's summertime. This is midsummer. A lot of people on vacation, a lot of people just chilling. And I'm partially mentally chilling, even though I still have to work, create content. But it's summertime. Yeah. And it's Monday, Man Up Monday with me, the real Dana, and Judge Joe Brown. And of course, he has to take his time because he has the Pony Express Wi-Fi. But he'll be up shortly. Thank you. You can hear me loud. Thank you, Mo, Catalia, Lamont, Water. Hello, Mel. Yes. Barb, Lady FBA, Regina, Melon TV. Hi, guys. So today we're going to have a good show. As always, we got a lot to talk about. Honey, why Biden admitting to the autopen? Yes, honey, autopen gate. Autopen gate. We got to talk about SCOTUS handing Trump another win to dismantle the current education department. Yeah. We got to talk about Karen Bass giving reparations to illegals in LA and basically telling the federal government, go F yourself. Yeah. Yes, she did. And honey, I do have my monologue. Didn't look like little Bo Peep. Thank you. My monologue today is Beyonce. Tonight is the 4th night in Atlanta. And I'm sorry, Atlanta, y'all trifling. Y'all trifling is hell. Yes, you are. So before I get into the monologue, honey, I need you guys to share this video on all your social media outlets. Hit the like button. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. That's my Vicky Diller impression. And donate. Yes. Donate, donate, donate. I have a goal tonight. And support the platform. It's highly appreciated. Hi, Isaac. So like, share, and donate. Like, share, and donate. And get in that chat. Get in the love room and join the conversation. Yeah. All right. So while we wait for the judge, let me get into my monologue, honey. Let me share this. Because what you're not going to do, you're not going to play with Bay. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. You're not going to play with her. And they're playing with they're playing with her. Now, first of all, honey, something dropped. They're saying that it's Act 3, Black Betty, honey. And we already know what that is. That means house music, club, rock. But Black Betty is a song created by a black man centuries ago. I guess he was formerly enslaved. Oh, Black Betty, bam, rama, oh, Black Betty. That song. So, honey, we're excited about Act 3. But we're still in Cowboy Carter era. And this is her 4th night in Atlanta. Atlanta crowd, I see you, Judge. Give me a second. Atlanta crowd do be rocking, but I'm sorry, you're not going to be better than New York, especially on the 5th night, the last night in New York where I was at. But anyway, Atlanta crowd be rocking when it comes to Beyonce, but y'all trifling as hell because apparently Beyonce's choreographer and one of her dancers said thieves broke into their SUV and stole jump drives containing unreleased music, footage, plans for her show, and more. Only in Atlanta you going to get low down, dirty, trifling Negroes. They could have been white or other. It could have been illegals doing some F-boy stuff. Who robs or commit crimes during a Beyonce concert? Her concerts are peaceful. We all love each other. We are, laughing and dancing and having a good time. I went to the concerts by myself, and then you meet people there and you have a ball. So why are you robbing someone? It had to be a setup because it just so happened it was her dancers who had that music. I don't know. It sounds like an inside job, but I want to play this clip here.
Action News exclusive here at 4 o'clock. Atlanta police are working to identify the people accused of breaking into an SUV and stealing Beyonce's unreleased music, set lists, and other personal items. Channel 2's Michael Seiden live right now for us along Krog Street in Northeast Atlanta where this happened. And Michael, you're breaking the story just hours before the Grammy-winning superstar is scheduled to take the stage for the fourth night, and you just got new information.
George, in the last 5 minutes, I reached out to APD. They confirmed that they have issued an arrest warrant for one suspect. More on that in a moment, but I want to show you. Take a look. We are inside the parking garage right here at Krog Street Market where this break-in took place. As tens of thousands of Beyonce fans prepare to descend on Mercedes-Benz Stadium for the fourth and final Cowboy Carter concert in Atlanta, APD has confirmed that a criminal investigation is underway after the Grammy-winning singer's choreographer called 911 after someone broke into his rented SUV and stole multiple items, including some of the superstars' unreleased music.
Oh, shoot.
No way.
That's insane.
That's crazy.
There's gonna be a lot of free Beyonce music on the street.
Oh, that's terrible. The crime is awful. Brazen people out here.
Police say it all happened just after 8 p.m. on July 8th, 2 days before the first show. Beyonce's choreographer and one of her dancers told police that they parked their rented Jeep Wagoneer inside this parking deck at Krog Street Market. And when they returned about an hour later, they noticed someone had broken in through the back window and stolen multiple items. According to the incident report, Beyonce's team member reported that the thieves got away with laptops and 5 hard drives. The hard drives contained watermarked music, some unreleased music, footage plans for the show, and past and future set lists. Channel 2 has reached out to Beyonce's representatives for comment, but as of Monday afternoon, we haven't received a response. And again, the big breaking news that APD has issued an arrest warrant for one suspect. We are still working to find out the name of that suspect and the potential charges they may face. Also, APD wanted us to remind everyone about their Clean Car campaign. Again, the city officials urging you to take a look at that. We got all that information on our website at WSBTV.com. We are going to continue to reach out to Beyonce's representatives, and if we get a response, we'll let you know. We are live in Northeast Atlanta. Michael Seiden, Channel 2 Action News.
Action News.
Well, so all I'm gonna say here is only in Atlanta. Y'all trifling. I've never heard of any incident happening at Beyonce concerts. The concerts I attended, I felt safe. You know, it went off without a hitch from beginning to end. No issues, no fight, no nothing. But yes, Patricia King, why was it left in the vehicles? Why? I think it was an inside job. And why did the choreographer have unreleased music in its possession? So yeah, the whole thing sounds fishy. But y'all better find the culprits and arrest them and put them away in prison. Don't mess with Beyonce, honey. Don't. Honey, I am part of the Beehive. I don't care if y'all mad. I don't care if y'all don't like her. She is the greatest entertainer of all times, honey. And I cannot wait for Act 3. Yes. And the show must go on. But Atlanta, y'all trifling. And you are off my list because I said that I was going to go to multiple Beyonce shows during the Act 3 tour, and Atlanta was going to be one of my stops. I'm not going. I'm going overseas because I should have went overseas this year, but I'm going overseas and of course New York, but I'm not messing with Atlanta because y'all too trifling. I see the judge. Judge, are you ready?
Are you seriously telling me you're going to spend money to go overseas to see a Beyonce concert?
Absolutely. And I was supposed to go this year, but I did not really plan.
It's not that important.
Yes, it is. It's very
have more fun going, more meaningful thing touring a museum over there. You'd go over there to see a concert?
No, she is the museum, honey. And it's good for me. It's good for my health. It's good for my self-esteem.
I can't endorse that.
You don't have to. You don't.
Well, I know, but excuse me, I haven't been doing my job. If you're still thinking that way. By the way, side effects, since you're so impressed, which I didn't realize the extent of it. One of my partners in this barbecue thing is her personal chef, Damon.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well, if that adds anything, but why the upset over this kind of theft when so many other people in Atlanta get ripped off and nobody seems to care?
Exactly. And that's the
Why don't
people's
you
fault.
produce music that cuts that down rather than
She does.
ignores it
She does.
to the gay crowd, but
No,
not
no,
to
no,
the
no,
other
no,
folks?
it's not. No, it's not. It's for everybody.
Well,
It's for
could you
everybody.
tell me why she's so popular with them?
We
I
can't
don't,
see you. Why are you in the dark?
because I'm looking for something right now.
No.
But why is she so popular with the gay crowd? What's that all about?
She's popular with all the crowds.
Yeah, but they got a particular thing with that. But
No, they don't. No.
I don't really care. But anyway, she's a pretty looking woman. I'll say that for her. She looks good, look great.
Well, since you know the chef, why don't you call the chef and introduce me to the chef so I could get some backstage chef pass?
I'm not going to get into that whole stuff about
Okay,
folks
so then
going
why
off and
mention him?
dealing with getting all freaked out about some music. I thought that went out with the Beatles.
The Beatles.
5 years
First
ago,
of all, honey,
got to
Michael
acting all
Jackson came
crazy
after the
about it.
Beatles and put it down.
Well,
Now
yeah, but
Beyonce has
why people get crazy about getting sung to? I don't
what?
get it.
Okay, so listen, just because you don't like music, you don't dance,
I dance to
you
it,
don't
but
you don't want to deal with the secular part of life. That's your business, honey.
I deal
You
with
gotta
the
rain on
secular
our
part of life.
parade.
I just don't get off on that.
You don't have to. I do, and millions
I know,
others.
and you do.
Yeah.
Apparently, I didn't
I
realize
need to see your
the
face.
extent of
What
it.
are you doing? What are you doing? I need to see your
But
face.
you're actually going to go over to Europe to see a
Yes.
concert of his?
I bought a
How
ticket
much
for
money am I making for you doing this stuff?
Paris. Not enough. I bought a ticket for Paris, but I did not plan property, so I
You
couldn't
brought
go.
a ticket to go to Paris to
No, I
see
bought a
Beyonce?
concert ticket, but I
Oh, baby,
but I got a
no.
refund because I didn't plan properly because I didn't get my passport in time. And
Oh.
I never been to Paris, so I was going to make it a
Well, we'll
whole.
go there to go to Paris, not to see Beyonce, for
Oh, no,
goodness
no.
sakes.
Listen, I was going to see her, but also I would have went to the museums and everywhere else, but she was the main attraction. I just didn't plan properly to go. So
Beyonce, wait a minute. Beyonce is the main attraction
in
in
Paris, yes.
Paris?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
boy.
Yes.
Oh, boy.
What are you doing? We cannot see you.
I'm not trying to be seen. You block the screen off sometimes.
I didn't block the. Oh, what do you do? Oh, can you put your toys away? Because I know
I'm not dealing with that. I'm looking for something. It turned up. I've been trying to find it, and I had an idea.
I don't know. I hear clips.
I know that's just going through an assortment of things outside of a drawer. Damn, where did it go?
Wait, Judge, did you say Moses and Jesus make good music?
What say?
Somebody said in the chat, he said Moses and Jesus made good music.
I didn't say that. Don't care.
Don't go overseas. All they got now is immigrants. But you got immigrants protesting here, child.
Well,
Listen, stop being. See, I need to stop being so negative with your thoughts. Yes, thank you, Jess Goddesses only. Seeing Beyonce in Paris will be heavenly. Yes, it will. Yes, it will be. I don't know why you are not on camera. I want to start the show.
I'd never anticipated anybody but the extremely, obscenely rich type doing something like going to Paris to see Beyonce. I know some that will get in their private jet because a friend put in a new bread line at a restaurant and they want to fly over there for a couple of days and try the bread. Are you going there? With that, I'm getting on you. But anyway, I'll leave it.
Well, can you please put your pretty face on the screen?
And my face is not pretty.
I know it's not. It was a joke.
Used to be handsome, but I grew out of
You
that.
know, men, you guys, you're naturally unattractive.
What's that?
men are physically naturally unattractive.
We are male and we're not supposed to look pretty. That's not our
Exactly.
job. That's a
Exactly.
woman's job. That causes the fact that women look pretty and men respond to it is why we don't look like chimps and gorillas anymore. We look like people. So, yeah, that's a little fact of reality and existence. So let me get back on and bring this up. Okay, where is this? Okay.
Do you remember how to get back on camera?
Yeah, I got it. I just had something else. All right, here we go. Loop de loop. Okay. Here we go. I found what I was looking for. Been looking for an hour or so. Finally found it.
Mhm. Hi.
Had me nervous.
So, okay, honey, I want to start off talking about Biden and that auto pen. Let me see. Let me play this.
Calculating savings for
This is a commercial. Wait a minute.
Major development in the alleged cover-up of Biden's decline. One of Biden's top aides admitted she was authorized to use the autopen signatures without knowing who in the president's inner circle was giving her final clearance. This, as Jill Biden's former aide, Anthony Bernal, bailed on his scheduled testimony for the congressional investigation. Former counsel to the president, President Trump as well. Fox News contributor Kellyanne Conway joins us now. So Kellyanne, how does this work? Who gives the order for the signature? It's normally the president, but it doesn't look like that happened.
This is an important story for the American public because the role of staff secretary, which was occupied by Neera Tanden in the Biden White House, that person controls the paper flow in and out of the Oval Office. So often, Lawrence, when you see President Trump sitting behind the Resolute desk in his second term, you see his staff secretary, Will Scharf, handing him the executive orders and explaining to him and us, since the cameras are on, what the purpose of that executive order is. For Neera Tanden to testify under oath yesterday that she, quote, had very little interaction with the President of the United States, with the Commander-in-Chief, Joe Biden, is just remarkable. And it is derelict of duty because we always say the chief of staff is the people flow, but the staff secretary is the paper flow. The staff secretary in President Trump's administrations is so important that they posted a member of the staff secretary's office in the outer oval toward the end of the first term because the volume and velocity with which President Trump operates necessitates that constant paper flow. What is the role of staff secretary? Neera Tanden's job, Will Scharf's job, is to make sure that everything is vetted. A president has options at his disposal. And to do that, you have to look the president in the eye, make sure they see the options. She's admitting that she wasn't part of the inner circle, that other people were making the decisions, and then the auto pen was all fired up. And Neera Tanden, look, this is somebody who is a hyper-partisan figure. They had her pull her Senate-confirmed positions in the first couple months of the Biden term. He gave her one that was non-Senate confirmed because before then, as now, she runs really the heart of the resistance, the Center for American Progress. So this is important because under oath, she admitted that she doesn't know who made those decisions.
But how's the staff secretary not in the inner circle when they're the ones, everything that the president signs, they place in front of the president?
They do.
So you're in the inner circle. You're right there with the president every single day, right?
Yes, and in President Trump's administrations, we all see it. He's the most transparent, forward-facing. Will Scharf is probably now a household name and face because of the way President Trump operates. So I just want your viewers to understand the vitalness of this role to any White House and the very fundamental, differently way that the Biden White House operated. Look, we have other people testifying. His physician, Kevin O'Connor, is set to testify on July 9th. That'll be something.
Can't wait for that.
I want to get your reaction to the auto pen.
Auto pen is a high-tech rubber stamp. The whole idea, the way the Constitution's set up, is checks and balances in government. The president is supposed to sign legislation. He's supposed to read it, and as chief executive, he's supposed to protect the American citizenry by making sure that nothing inappropriate comes through his legislation, and if he thinks it is, he's supposed to veto it. When you get an autopen, you get a rubber stamp, so you allow somebody who does not have the constitutional authority to assess, evaluate, accept, or reject legislation to rubber stamp it. It's also a grave insult to the whole system, to the country, and to the people, and to the concept of the republic for somebody to say, I have too much that is preoccupying me to take the grace and the dignity of signing this new law for the people of the United States of America. And it is a grave insult to the republic. I don't give a damn about the explanation. It's crap. It also has been, in my experience, used quite frequently for somebody to take themselves out of the chain of authority so other people can do it. We had a jackass here in Memphis and Shelby County who ran the juvenile court. His name was Kenneth Turner. He was a 6th grade dropout. That's as far as his education went. He was incompetent, according to the state Supreme Court, due to his educational deficiencies, to contemplate the arguments of counsel, thereby depriving any citizen who came in front of him of the right to be represented by an attorney. So he hired a bunch of people to sit for them. He became so arrogant in what he was doing, which what did he have to do since he was not permitted to preside over the cases he was elected to preside over? He did not have to be in his office, so he took off to go deal with things that judges are not supposed to do. And he had his secretaries, some of which had scant high school education, rubber stamping his orders, rubber stamping felony arrest warrants, misdemeanor arrest warrants. And nobody could say there was a magistrate that found probable cause because it was a rubber stamp. This pen, auto pen, is nothing but a high-tech rubber stamp, and it defeats the purposes that we have the chief executive officer for in our constitutional scheme. So it's a disgrace. Well, whether or not it had anything to do with his actual mental competence.
Mm-hmm. Well, in a recent interview, they said the 46th president insisted in a phone interview with the New York Times last week, quote, I made every decision about clemency's issue during his term before admitting he had his staff replicate his signature because we're talking about a lot of people. Biden's team used an auto pen on 25 warrants for pardons and commutations in December and January of last year.
Lazy son of a bitch couldn't sign 25 documents. That's unacceptable.
But 2 of those warrants granted clemency to thousands of people.
I don't care. He could have signed them. When I sat on the bench, I was just a state trial judge. I signed so many documents in 1 or 2 days that I would take a brand new big pen and I would completely empty it between Monday and Tuesday afternoon or Wednesday morning signing documents. I wound up getting a bunch of fountain pens where I could refill. But that is just insulting to the process that you were too busy to sign it. And we have had a whole 236 years worth of chief executive officers, presidents, starting with George Washington up to him. And now again, we have Trump in office. And you mean to tell me that all of these people signing all of this legislation and him having such a low productivity rate, he was too busy or unable to sign? That is just horrendously insulting to the American public and to the American people.
Right.
That's just.
I think that because remember when the whole autopen gate a couple months ago came out, everybody was in denial. That's not true. That's not true. But now he's saying, well, it was so many people. I did instruct my staff to just use my signature. And I think that's the cover up for
Then,
one.
damn it, you son of a bitch. You abdicated your responsibility to review personally the legislation submitted to you for approval as the chief executive for the United States of America.
Mm-hmm.
And either approve it, let it have a pocket veto by nobody signing it, or rejecting it. And you did not do your job. And that's typical of Joe Biden for the last 50-some years.
So maybe the cover up, he was not capable of doing it because of their saying, he was sick or had some type of health issue. So
I think it's just he's a lazy son of a bitch, always has been. And has everybody else doing his work for him. That's his habit. He plagiarized when he was in grad school, and he lied about his academic performances and everything else, and he slipped and slid. What?
I thought that was George Bush who lied about his.
No, that's Biden.
Oh,
he was trying to talk about what he did, this, that, and the other. When he ran for president the first time back in the 80s, he had to drop out because he got busted for plagiarism. Well, it got revealed that he had been busted for plagiarism. He's always trying to cut corners.
Mm-hmm. Well, just switching gears slightly. Listen, I'm so tired of these people talking about the Epstein list. Just stop talking about it. It is what it is right now.
Epstein list is not being released because if it is released and somebody is embarrassed, that is subsidiary to the fact that it jeopardizes probably a national and international intelligence network. And there are a lot of people that are likely to be shot because when people wind up getting embarrassed, they'll try to redeem themselves. And in the process, they will start bringing in proof that they weren't this, that, and the other. And by the time smart intelligence communities start looking at it, they can put two and two together and say, oh, we didn't realize that. That's like when I was in New Jersey 3 years ago looking at those laptops, the 3 that Hunter Biden had, not one. And I told you that myself and 2 other experienced lawyers, we went through that. And we had to ask Fox not to show some of that because it would get some of our foreign operatives put on walls and shot, some of our own people shot, and if not put on a wall, 2 bullets in the back of the head in a back alley.
Well,
and that is why that Epstein stuff is not coming out. Relying upon people's sex drives has been a staple of the intelligence community for thousands of years. And what goes on is Epstein probably had sort of a little exemption from acting completely right so he could get the goods on people, so you could get direct intelligence or compromise individuals so that they would reveal important intelligence. And he went overboard, exceeded his mandate. So
do you think he committed suicide?
Protection program somewhere in the world.
That's why I was going to ask.
Or he killed himself, which is all 3 outcomes are quite frequent. And I would make this comment. One of the hardest crimes in the world to prove is a first-degree murder when the alleged perpetrator has no personal connection to the victim. Because the victim...
Wait, say that again?
One of the hardest crimes in the world to prove is a homicide where the victim and the perpetrator have no personal connection. In other words, where it's a hit. Your number 1 witness is gone. He's dead. So he can't tell you what's going on. And all of the stuff you see in Hollywood and in the movies goes out the window unless somebody opens their big mouth. And if nobody opens their mouth and there's no connection where you can say, well, these guys had an animus with each other. Let's go look at him and see if we can implicate this particular person. Where there's no connection, It doesn't happen.
Well, what is her name? Is it just Lane, Giselle Maxwell?
Don't care.
Well, whatever. The Maxwell woman, she is saying that she wants to testify in front of Congress, but the Department of Justice came out and urged Supreme Court to turn away any appeal from Giselle Maxwell, the former associate of sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. She's currently serving 20 years in for.
See, that's what I'm talking about. You bring this stuff out and you get more people needing to defend themselves. She got caught up in it. She shouldn't have been there. Most of what the intelligence community does on behalf of the United States is technically criminal and against the law. You see the movies where we have our equivalent of 007 with a license to kill, where you don't in America. You can go to Leavenworth for doing that kind of thing. So there's always this bit where a blind eye is turned so somebody doesn't go to prison for helping out the security interest of the country.
Well,
it's not legal to assassinate under American law.
Well, she is urging the court, she urged the court earlier this year to review her case, arguing that an unusual co-conspirator clause in Epstein's 2007 non-prosecution agreement with federal prosecutors in Florida barred her subsequent prosecution in New York. A district court and a federal appeals court previously rejected that argument.
Wash, because if it's state, the state can't bind another state. It has to be within that particular sovereign jurisdiction. So that's going nowhere.
And the DOJ today urged the high court to do the same.
Yeah, that's going nowhere. Next thing is it opens too big a can of worms, and there is this thing called national security. Let me explain it very basically. You used to be, if you're my age, worry about getting a notice from your president that says, "Greetings from your president. You're hereby ordered to report to your local draft board for a pre-induction physical," because in time of need, the United States can draft you. You become expendable. You can be one of the acceptable casualties in taking that machine gun emplacement, so a battalion can get around the flank on an enemy and open up an avenue of advance so your side is helped in its efforts to win a war or a battle. But you can die because your platoon sergeant may tell you, you advance, and you lay down a base of fire, and you getting advanced, you get done in. Your sergeant can say, or your lieutenant can say, you take point, and you're the first person to run into the enemy. And if they don't let you go by because they want to ambush the rest of the folk in your platoon, you're dead man. So people get sacrificed for the national interest all the time. You had a whole bunch of them in the Civil War. So that's, by the way, the American Civil War had more casualties than all of the rest of the wars the U.S. has been in combined. So just think about it. It's been a long tradition where you can die for your country. You are ordered to expose yourself to death. And if you don't, Sarge is going to pull his Colt 1860 or Remington 1863 and put a 45 caliber bullet in the back of your head. Now get going. Or a 1911, a 45 ACP, or a Beretta M9, and you get a 9mm, or a SIG M17, and you get a 9mm in the back of the head because you didn't follow the orders. So if these folk can be sacrificed in the national interest, who are good Americans, then somebody who has found herself involved in the scheme that she's in, then she can get caught up in the same thing too. And I can see how she might be. Well, it's too bad. National security demands that you get what you look like you're going to get. So have fun.
You said have fun.
And by the way, they went outside their mandate. See, this is what happens. You have a lot of people involved in politics and diplomacy who have strong sex drives. It seems to go together. And sometimes those sex drives are a little weird and they like to get the freak on, like Diddy was talking about. Diddy's thing was the same kind of thing, except it was to contain or maintain or acquire leverage in the entertainment industry. This had to do with national politics, and I have a sneaking suspicion it involved the Middle East, Israeli intelligence, Egyptian intelligence, Saudi intelligence, American intelligence, a lot of NATO intelligence. And there are a lot of people that would be very upset and a lot of operatives for all of these factions that would get, boom, done in very quickly if their names came out, or even if their names didn't come out, if somebody who knew what the inside track was all about got a chance to look at these explanations that would come out, it would be horrible. The other thing is frankly, you cannot have a secret trial, even though they have one nowadays that comes up with certain things involving national security, which I think is an anathema to the Constitution. But, you know, that public and speedy trial and the right to use the subpoena powers of the court to compel the attendance of witnesses and production of evidence in your behalf. See, you charge somebody with something and they're likely to exercise those rights. And you have a real can of worms because stuff comes out that can't come out. Now, I don't talk about it, but I've had cases, a few, where my clients were caught dead to right, but I said, hey, look, we intend to subpoena the following witnesses, and somebody takes a look at it and go, oh, hell, can you give us about 15 minutes? Sure. 2 hours later, they come back, we'll drop all charges. We can't afford to have this hit the light of day. Thank you very much. We thought you'd see it that way. And that happens from time to time.
All right, so
by the way, Federal Witness Protection Program. A lot of times you have people who are real bad guys, but because in the scheme of things, what they know can help out getting a lot more bad guys put away. So they get put in the Federal Witness Protection Program, get a new identity, new credit cards, new place to live, and a new set of circumstances. And you don't prosecute them because in the national interest, it is best to not prosecute them so you can use what they know to get more dangerous individuals off the streets. That's what's going on here.
Okay.
I think.
You think, yes. So I want to move on to LA, more specifically to the mayor, right? Because the LA mayor, Karen Bass, she will provide cash assistance to immigrants, which i.e. illegals, affected by the ICE raid. So
by the way, before we even go any further, under Title 8, Section 1324, that's a felony to do what she's talking about doing. To advocate that is a felony. So she's committed felonies by advocating the process. So come on, Justice Department. Submit this fool's circumstances to a grand jury, get her indicted, prosecute her, and lock her up in jail. Because as a public figure, the federal sentencing guidelines would deliver enhanced punishment.
Mm-hmm.
That's a crime. No doubt about it.
Well,
she's innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, but it's certainly probable cause to charge her. So let's get to charging her.
Well, she said LA has been under assault as masked men snatch people off the street and chase people through parking lots. Today, the court ruled in favor of the United States Constitution. This is a win for Los Angeles, and it's a win for the cities across the nation. So it says judge blocks Trump administration tactics.
That's a district court judge. That doesn't count. You have to get up to the 9th Circuit, and then if it got to the 9th Circuit, it would be a 3-member panel, and then they go to the full 9, and then it would go to the U.S. Supreme Court. So ain't nothing happening right now.
Angelinos, today we had an important victory at the court. So now there will be a restraining order. They won't just be able to drive through the streets and snatch people off the streets. We know that all of this has been about creating a sense of fear and terror in our community, but I'm hoping that this ruling will give people a sense of peace, that maybe they can leave home now, maybe they can go back to work, maybe they don't have to live in so much fear. We have to use every possible strategy available to us. Today it was a victory in the courts. I know it will be challenged, but still, we won today and we have to keep up the fight.
And you just put another nail in your coffin with Title 8, Section 1324. And look, lady, I grew up in Los Angeles, and I'm used to, you will show me your papers, yeah? Now, what you talking about, papers? Conrad, he does not have his papers. He's not good, yeah? You have no papers? Hey, man, you mean like a driver's license or something? I ain't driving no car. You do not have your papers. He's not good, yeah? Like LAPD used to jack us up all the time. And Richard Pryor's got a line in one of his joke albums or one of routines. All right, boy, on the wall. What wall? Find one. And that was the way we got treated. So I'm not impressed by this little lightweight thing where they have probable cause to stop somebody. And I'm living in this country where the border is wide open, and 911 was bad enough 25 years ago, 24 years ago. What happens when Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Hamas, all of these people that do not like us in Gaza, Ukraine, everywhere else, the People's Republic of China, they've already infiltrated folk who do not have to be suicide bombers. They have had the time to implant the military-grade explosives and just simply await the command to flip the switch and blow up a whole lot of stuff that will make 911 and Pearl Harbor look like they are kindergarten productions. Now, I'm really impressed.
Well,
and I pay taxes, and a lot of federal taxes go back to California, and I'm still fighting with these son of a bitches in California about me owing taxes when I have not lived there. And under my crew, we say Joe Brown's not subject to state income tax. I resent, goddammit, my income taxes, whether improperly obtained or properly obtained and diverted through the feds back to these clowns, being used for this purpose.
It says Supreme Court Rule 72 and the Trump administration favor allowing illegal immigrants to be deported to a country they have no ties to. So it's like the Supreme Court, he has the ability to deport, but she is signing executive orders, submitting a request under Freedom of Information Act about when and where enforcement activities have taken place in LA, the identities of individuals and reasons they were arrested or detained. We will also be requesting information.
Aid and abet others in blocking the activities of federal law enforcement under Title 8, Section 1324. That's a felony. Well, now let's get on it and indict a trifling behind.
So what is this with her? Under a new executive order, she's submitting a request under the Freedom of Information Act.
Doesn't make any difference. It's a felony.
Because she's right. So it's like, okay, you can request all the information you want. Your actions is breaking the law. You're still breaking the law.
By the way, the act specifically says official status or capacity is no exemption from application of the law.
Mm-hmm. So here, let me see. She is signing an executive order to support illegal immigrants.
That's evident. You can bring that up in a trial.
Giving
and use it as aggravating circumstance in sentencing.
An executive.
She's the mayor of the second largest city in the United States. You mean to tell me the fool hasn't read the law?
Mm-hmm.
It's been out there. It's not new.
I am here today to sign an executive directive, and I just want to point out the irony for a minute. that there is a need for me to have an executive directive to help our city understand how to protect itself from our federal government. Just let that sink in for a minute. What we have seen here over the last now going on 6 weeks of raids that pop up and we never know exactly when and where they're going to happen. We've seen them in the general region. I'm sure many people saw Camarillo yesterday and what broke out there. We saw MacArthur Park earlier this week, which I think now, after all assessments, it is viewed as just a display of force, just to put the city in its place, to say we are the federal government, we can roll out troops whenever we choose. So the executive directive that I will be signing in a few minutes is to help the city family, to help the city workforce, to help the city departments and all of the general managers essentially develop preparedness plans that have specific protocols and that help city workers know how to address immigration officials should they approach a city department. How we abide by the law, but we understand what our rights are as city employees, how we can provide protection for immigrants who might be attending a city event or at a city property, but we stay within the law.
That is giving aid, comfort,
I am here to
counsel, procuring, giving comfort or assistance to those who are illegal aliens in their ability or assisting and giving all of the above again to allow them or assist them in escaping apprehension, detention, and deportation under the law. That's a felony. So let's bust a little trifling behind and see what happens. It ought to be great fun. I grew up in Los Angeles. I'm looking at people right here who have been for 30 years doggedly trying to F up the whole place with their idea of what they're trying to be about. This is an effort that is a carryover from what the Biden-Harris administration was doing, anticipating that one of those two clowns, Joe in the Ho, one or the other, was going to be the new president of the United States and would issue a retroactive order granting asylum status to particular groups of political refugees effective to January 2020, which under American law would result in their automatic citizenship 5 years later without having to take a single course, class, be tested, or anything, which would mean they would be eligible to vote right now, and they could vote in next year's midterm elections and guarantee the Democratic Party absolute control of politics in the United States for decades. Mm-hmm. That's what their little filthy scam was, and they've jeopardized the security of the United States of America in the process with this little selfish, by any means necessary cabal that is trying to impose this rainbow cult on the country. So, and that is a disgrace, it is a shame, and it is a lie told very loudly. And a fool is eating, what did I say? You tell a lie long enough, loud enough, you can get anybody to believe it, including the liar. And the liars have become to believe their own garbage. And this ought to get them in a federal prison.
She's also planning to provide cash assistance to those affected by the enforcement operations. The Los Angeles Times reported cash cards with a couple $100 on them would be distributed by immigrant rights groups in about a week. The money will come from city coffers, but from philanthropic partners. So
that's aiding and abetting. That's giving cash on her instructions. That just ramps up the severity of the crime.
Right. Because she's saying that these illegals, they're too scared to go to work.
Well, why should they be working if they're illegals?
So she's compensating.
Did you hear what that says?
Right.
In other words, they're scared to break the law. Isn't that the purpose of having laws in the first place and effective enforcement, where the crook gets scared to commit the crime? Oh my goodness. How abominably stupid. It's embarrassing.
So I want to play this clip. It's only 24 seconds. She's talking to journalist April Ryan. Now, April Ryan, she covers a lot of Black news. So I just want to play this clip real quick.
And you have the federal government that has seized power from a governor and is attempting to seize authority and power in a city. This is, to me, an example of why I say that LA is a petri dish. LA is a petri dish, and they are practicing on us. The experiment is on us. And you have the...
What is she talking about?
No, it's not, fool. 1957, Governor Orville Faubus of Arkansas said he would not follow American law. So President Ike Eisenhower, former general in command of the United States Armed Forces, said, okay, you said you aren't going to follow the law. You said you are going to continue to break the law. So I'm sending in 14,000 troops. Now deal with that. And Newsom has said he's not going to follow the law. So Trump does not need his permission any more than 68 years ago. Eisenhower did not need Faubus's permission to send in U.S. military personnel to enforce the law in Arkansas. So it's a precedent, you dumb bunny. Didn't you ever get this in school? No, I forgot. You went to school in California, or did you go elsewhere and didn't get an education because they wanted you to be a fool? And the question begs itself. It's not whether you're looking at a fool, it's how big a fool can a fool be.
So I want to play this other clip here, right? Because you heard about ICE raiding a marijuana cannabis field, and it were kids working in that cannabis field out in California. So this is a segment on CNN to where when somebody brings up the fact that not only are they illegal, but they're underage. So these liberals, Democrats, they're talking about, well, ICE is raiding and tearing families apart, but no one isn't discussing, why do we have a whole bunch of illegals, but a whole bunch of underage kids? How did they get there? So I want to play this
Got
clip.
Crack dealers down in the hood selling drugs and poisoning people, and somebody's complaining, but you're breaking up their family if you send them to prison.
Let's look at what just happened at the Glass House marijuana farm. Here's what people don't want to see. On the other side, they don't want to see people throwing rocks into the cars of federal agents. They don't want to hear that someone supposedly opened fire on them. They also don't want to learn that there are a bunch of kids there that are undocumented or unaccompanied, and they think this is crazy talk, and we should be focusing on that. For one thing, how did those kids get there?
Well, I just want to add one thing. We do have to go, but the UFW, the United Farm Workers, put out a statement about this. They said the UFW can confirm farm workers were critically injured yesterday during chaotic raids in Ventura County, California. Others, including U.S. citizens, remain totally unaccounted for. Many workers, including U.S. citizens, were held by federal authorities at the farm for 8 hours or more. U.S. citizen workers report only being released after they were forced to delete photos and videos of the raid from their phones. They also added that farm work is exempted from child labor laws. So
you're telling me undocumented?
I'm not saying the undocumented. I'm not talking about
work at a marijuana farm.
I'm not talking about the undocumented part, but according to this statement, in this country, not just at farm, not at marijuana farms, at all
semantics.
Farms.
Look at the reality of what
I'm
we're
just saying,
talking about. How did an unaccompanied, undocumented 14-year-old in the middle of the day?
I believe that, and many people might believe, children should be subject to child labor laws.
Absolutely.
But it's true in this country that when it comes to agricultural work, they're not, and that includes marijuana farms. So the legality.
ignorant woman, it's not a matter of whether or not there's an exemption for child labor in agricultural fields. It's the fact that they have these 14-year-old undocumented types, whether or not they comply with labor laws, growing marijuana in an illicit, unregistered facility that is not operating under California regulations, which, by the way, even though this is legal as per California, it is not as per United States law. It's still against federal law. So you have 14-year-olds actively engaged in violation of federal statutes. So what do you have to say about that? You want to obfuscate this and deal with inconsequential nonsense about, oh, but they were 14 and they aren't required to be adults to labor in agricultural fields in the rules that you have. No, but they are required to otherwise obey the law. We've got 20,000 plus convicted murderers that have been released into the United States thanks to the open borders and this illegal thing. We don't know where they are. We have about the same number of sex offenders. We have all sorts of perverts, people with uncurable forms of tuberculosis. We have 1.5 million military-aged male Chinese who are in their 20s who have walked across the border. We've got people from the Middle East, which includes Hamas and a whole lot of people from Gaza. We have Iranians who have walked across the border after we dropped 30,000 pound bombs on their high-tech facilities. We've got folk in Ukraine and Russians, and we've got Chinese who want to destabilize the whole damn place. So we will be so caught up in military involvements around the world, they can just step in and take Taiwan back in about 2 years. All of this is going on, and these jackasses are trying to keep this southern border off, even though their little scam about trying to take control of politics by getting illegals declared retroactively to be subject to asylum so that they can vote this year. That did not work.
Of their status is a separate issue, but the fact of children being there is not actually something that is necessarily illegal.
I have a really hard time
So there's that. So it's not unusual for there to be teenagers and working in a farm.
A 14-year-old can work at a marijuana growing.
It doesn't matter whether it's
a... Which one is the reporter?
The black woman is the journalist and the host of the
show. Why hell isn't she asking questions to elicit information instead of trying to propagandize with what is effectively illegal bullshit that has no application to the situation?
Yeah, so her show is like a panel debate discussion.
Why is it portrayed as news instead of entertainment? See, that's that corruption that started 35 years ago when CNN got bailed out of bankruptcy by the Gulf War I situation. And then they didn't have anything to do once it was over in 91. So they lapsed into this kind of bullshit, which is entertainment, and they switched it to propaganda really quickly. Why isn't she asking questions instead of why is it that we just have this editorialization nonstop a la tabloid journalism instead of having reporters who ask questions to elicit points of view that the public might need to hear?
They stopped doing that.
Yeah, that's what's wrong. That needs to stop.
Marijuana farm or an apple farm.
A kid can't work at a bar.
It's agriculture. They're not smoking
if that's
marijuana.
The law, that's outrageous.
They're cultivating it.
Changed.
The point is, this incident, and we're still learning a lot more about it, was very dangerous and put a lot of people, including ICE officers and those immigrants, in danger.
Federal law enforcement agents.
I agree with you, but the tactics are producing chaos and violence, and I think that is one of the things that's caused people to.
That's my question.
We don't know.
Well,
we will find out.
Please, guys, come in. It would be so nice if you would make everything nice and smooth so no one has to act ugly, and it can be all about love. Why don't you just bring yourselves in and we can talk about this over coffee maybe a little Chablis or something, you know.
So the other woman, she's saying, listen, you should not try to physically attack federal officers because if
Yeah,
you,
it is a crime.
it's a crime. And then if you do, they have a right to enact force upon you. And you don't.
Yeah.
And then, but the big elephant in the room is, hello, there's a whole bunch of illegals. Hello, there's a whole bunch of minors. So you want to attack the officers that's really coming into, I think, saving these kids from being trafficked.
Oh my God, they've got on masks, these COVID-19 masks. Oh my God, it's so horrifying. Well, if you hadn't broken the law, you wouldn't need to worry about it. And if other folk get swept up in it, it's kind of a case of, hey, if these criminals hadn't broken the law by crashing our border, which you can't do anywhere else in the damn world, you can't go south and do it, they'll shoot you. So they can't crash the border going south. Let's say they try to get back down to Venezuela or something like that. Somebody's going to jack them up and put them in a concentration camp if they don't put them on a wall and let them prop it up for a few minutes before they collapse. No longer able to stand up.
When I heard this news about the cash payments, I thought this cannot possibly be true. But then on reflection, I thought, of course it's true, because California already provides the most generous benefits for illegal immigrants of any state by far. Newsom has driven Medicaid insolvent by giving out free comprehensive benefits for everyone. And now Bass is giving out these free cash cards. And apparently one of the ways you can get one is if you're too afraid to go into work. Well, number one, this fear, to the extent that it exists, is largely driven by Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom, who have purposely incited fear and driven these rioters into a state of frenzy. But number two, if we say that if you're too afraid to go to work, you get free cash payments, I think that all of a sudden we're going to find there are a lot more people who are suddenly too afraid to go into work. But the real kicker in all this is that Karen Bass has chosen, of all groups, Churla to distribute the cards. Now, remember, this is the group that got $34 million in funding and then played a central role in organizing the riots.
Hey, look, South Central LA, where I grew up, is hell. It's a shithole. High crime, awful. How in the hell can you expect a community to be about law and order when the people at the top are breaking the law this way? And South Central LA is going to hell, and it does not need an influx of illegals coming in and taking over, being co-opted, and money being spent to them, tax dollars going to them, and the whole damn state is otherwise goddamn broke. Right now, their civil courts have enough funding to operate just 3 days out of the week. The judges donate a good percentage of their salaries back so the courts can stay open 4 days out of the 5 business days of the week. The whole damn state is going to hell and broke. It's got the worst homeless crisis in the United States of America. And you bring in more people who say, you don't even belong here, but come in. And all of these good folk in America who are American citizens who are stuck out on the goddamn streets, you can leave them out there and say, screw you, you have problems, but we're going to bring in some newbies to the front of the damn line. Go to hell, people. You know, that's what it's about.
Karen, have you ever read the Constitution? You're not an independent sovereign nation. You're not South Carolina in 1861. This is not Fort Sumner. You can't do this. You're nullifying the federal government. You're subject to federal laws. You can't tell Los Angeles people, don't pay your income tax, federal income. That's a felony to do that. Ask Gavin. He said that essentially. He can be prosecuted if people do not pay their income tax. You can't tell a federal officer he has no jurisdiction. He has jurisdiction over the entire United States. He can go anyway. It's not just a federal courthouse in Los Angeles. He can go anywhere if it's a matter of federal law. And that's what immigration is. So you have no jurisdiction. Karen.
Thank you. That is a statement of the reality. So you got a governor of the biggest state in the United States, which is bigger than all but 6 or 7 countries in the world. And the goddamn fool is advocating a violation of long-standing law. You've got a jackass who is the mayor of the second largest city in the most powerful nation on the planet advocating a violation of federal law. And the fool doesn't realize it, or the fool does not care. What kind of message does that send to the kids out on the streets, black, white, brown, red, yellow, about being law-abiding when the people at the top are just running rampant over American law? What kind of jackass fool are you to say that you are going to supersede American law? I know better, and you know where I learned? In the 5th goddamn grade in Los Angeles, California. And that's the same place these folk are trying to corrupt.
Well, listen, everybody. I need everybody to hit the like button. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Please hit the like button. And I do have a goal. Support the platform and share the video. Like, share, support. Thank you, Prometheus. I'm going to get to the super chats in a second. I want to go into this now. Main topic here. Let's see. Let me put it up this way. All right.
This is disgusting.
Well, this should be good because the Supreme Court votes 63 to allow President Trump to move forward with purge of the Department of Education.
Yeah, it should be.
So
it's incompetent. It has failed the American public in the task of educating its children. It is trying to propagandize them and convert them to being solid, devoted, fanatical followers of the rainbow cult, rather than making them into good Americans who are educated, objective, discerning, analytical, and rational and reasonable.
Well, the Supreme Court on Monday granted the Trump administration's request to temporarily pause an order by a federal judge in Massachusetts that will require the Department of Education to reinstate nearly 1,400 employees who were fired earlier this year as part of the department's efforts to reduce the size of its workforce. In a brief, unsigned ruling, the justices blocked the order issued in May by U.S. District Judge, Joun, who had concluded that the Trump administration's true intentions is to effectively dismantle the department, even though, in his view, it lacked the power to do so.
This bunch of idiots has taken a mechanism, public education, that got America to the top of the world. And it has corrupted it from an educational device into a recruitment and indoctrination device for the rainbow cult. It is a disgrace and a shame for that to have happened.
So the Supreme Court basically paused that federal judge order that went against Trump.
Yeah, it's way down the totem pole. In other words, what it is it's a clerk at the counter, and the clerk's got a supervisor, and the supervisor's got a boss. So you're dealing with the entry-level clerk that's sitting there chewing gum, talking about she's bored, wants to go smoke a cigarette. That's what you're dealing with in terms of the system. A circuit court judge, not a district court appellate justice, and certainly not the U.S. Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm. Well, Justice Sonia Sotomayor dissented
Of course she would.
In a 19-page opinion that was joined by Justice Elena Kagan and, of course, your favorite head scratcher, Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Let me point out a parallel. That whole thing about birthright citizenship was to undo Dred Scott. which was a horrendous U.S. Supreme Court decision that had the equivalent in idiocracy that these three routinely exhibit.
Mm-hmm.
So, in other words, Justice Taney issued one of the most ridiculous, stupid, and asinine decisions in the history of the U.S. Supreme Court. It directly influenced and led to the U.S. Civil War. And after the war was over, since the Union won, it was still good law. That's why that provision is in the 14th Amendment to specifically undo Dred Scott. And Dred Scott with Taney, Chief Justice, was just as ignorant as this cabal of three ignoramuses who are deep off into the rainbow cult, and their philosophy is by any means necessary.
Who is the conservative woman justice in the Supreme Court who called out Ketanji Jackson, basically calling her an idiot?
I forget. And by the way, Ketanji Jackson is from the Second Circuit, and I say this: they could have appointed Roger E. Clifton, a fine black woman, wise, who has a lifetime history of doing the right thing, coming up with wise decisions on and off the bench, and she should have been nominated. Justice Bernice Donald of the Sixth Circuit, who was a student of mine, somebody I mentored, should have been on the U.S. Supreme Court instead of this head-scratching clown that didn't even know what a woman was. And I say this with all due respect, since I don't practice law anymore. I'm retired from it, and I put my law license in an inactive status so the whole bunch of them can go to hell. I'm exercising my free rights as a United States citizen under a Fourth Amendment. Ketanji Jackson is an embarrassment.
It was Amy Barrett.
Barrett, yes.
Yeah. She basically saying,
Justice Barrett, proud of you.
Yeah, it's called her out. So, all right. So, in the 19-page opinion that was joined by the justices, called the court's decision indefensible, writing that it hands the executive the power to repeal statutes by firing all those necessary to carry them out.
That's part of the process of government, the check and balance. If the legislative body does not like it, then it can override that decision by coming up with new legislation to address it. They have not. That's part of the governmental process, you bunch of idiots. Didn't you? Oh, I forgot. You must have gone to law school if you're on the U.S. Supreme Court. Well, why the hell don't you act like it?
The majority is either willfully blind to the implications of its ruling or naive, but either way, the threat to our Constitution, separations of powers is grave.
And what these clowns of three, the gang of three are talking about, the three hen house, what they're trying to do is advocate that which will lead to a totalitarian government, most commonly recognized as being fascist, fascisti, Nazis. And some might get it slightly wrong, but they're thinking the right way, communistic.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't work.
Also, speaking of education, Chicago public schools forced to lay off 1,458 employees, 432 teachers, and 677 special ed classroom assistants in order to meet a $734 million budget deficit. Chicago has spent over $638 million.
Yeah, you see that right there?
Immigrants.
See that right there? Americans are suffering because somebody's breaking the law and they haven't been prosecuted for it yet.
Right. And so,
by the way, under the circumstances, everything they did with Diddy about denying his initial offer of a $50 million bond should apply to every one of these damn criminals. Oh, well, alleged. They're presumed innocent until proven guilty. But there certainly seems sufficient probable cause to make them stand trial and account.
Chicago Public Schools just announced it's laying off more than 1,400 school-based employees. This includes 432 teachers and 677 special ed classroom assistants. CPS says this is part of its annual workforce planning and budgeting process. Historically, the district says more than 80% of impacted employees have secured new positions within CPS prior to the start of the school year. It's not known if the current $734 million budget deficit will impact that rehiring process. Chicago Public Schools.
So the education system, because listen, the Trump administration, when he came into office, they were basically, the plan was to eliminate the Department of Education. And they're also implementing a lot of, what do you call it? I don't want to say free choice, but parent choice, to where we would pay you what we pay, the money that we give per student to go to public school. If you want to homeschool your kid, we will give that money to the parent for that child. I think that is great. Or when we talk about charter schools or vouchers, let the parents choose how they want their child to be educated.
Well, you see, we didn't need that when the public schools were allowed to be public schools before they got stolen away from the public to indoctrinate children in the rainbow cult. This whole thing about, look at what we have. We don't need to learn how to longhand write because they've got cell phones. But we don't need to learn how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide because we have cell phones. How many times does your cell phone run out of battery charge and you can't use it? Or you can't charge it because the local utility company has been allowed to deteriorate in its infrastructure. Okay, the state of Washington, in light of all of the incompetent people trying to practice law, is saying we don't need to have a bar exam because it's discriminatory. How about the governor of Oregon saying we don't need to have children learning their multiplication tables because it discriminates against minorities? What the hell is that kind of garbage? I mean, back when times were tough, everybody learned how to add, subtract, multiply, divide, do long with division, short division, and work a math problem with pencil and paper. That happens all over the world, but for some reason, the presupposition is that minorities in America have become so stupid that they can't deal with it. So we have to dummy down everybody. What is the country doing? I taught school in Los Angeles. I was a playground director before that. I've seen it deteriorate. And it's horrible. And clowns like Bass and Newsom, they are adding to the miasma of the swamp, which is destroying public education. So now any sane parent wants to seek an alternative to public education because it's so bankrupt. Used to be what got the American public above and beyond everything else in the world. And people in World War II in Europe marveled at how competent and wise ordinary Americans were. And they were only used to seeing the aristocracy in Europe knowing things that America commonly knew from top to bottom. That's gone.
Well,
but it's not there.
There are some things it's a lot of things that I agree as far as what they're trying to do with the Department of Education. One of the things that I disagree is, they are forcing people, they're reinstating for people to pay back their student loans. However, in this new big, beautiful bill that Trump got passed, I'm going to play this clip here.
Before you get there, very briefly, Anywhere else in the world, if you had a 4-year college degree, you would be guaranteed admission into the benefits, including the financial benefits of being a middle class. The United States government has a Department of Labor. Hourly wage sections have made these determinations. To be squarely in the middle class, you have to make $125,000 a year as a single person. The cutoff on any aid that Biden-Harris had been proposing for relief from student loans was $125,000. The Labor Department's cutoff on the middle class. Below that, you're not middle class. So all of these people in the United States who have taken out this student loan thing to become college educated are not part of the middle class. So the what that means, the long and the short of it is, if you were being paid commensurate with your education, there would be no problem paying off your student loans because $125,000 would be the minimum. You got 2 years out of college as compensation for what you did to earn a living. More likely than not, anywhere else in the world, you'd be close to 200 grand a year and you could easily pay back your loans. But in the United States, for some reason, a college education does not equate to an automatic middle class status like it does everywhere else in the world. And we need to demand explanations as to why not.
Well, not only that, there are a lot of other countries where you could go to college for free or a fraction of what we pay here in America. So it's, to me, it's a Ponzi scheme.
It
And
is.
which is why I don't have a problem, with the Trump administration dismantling the Department of Education. Now,
I worked for them.
I want to play this
Remember
clip.
when I told you back when I was doing this intern thing in DC 50-some years ago, and I said I have free time, so I trotted myself down, and I got hired by the Department of Education, Housing and Urban Development, and I worked. And when I decided my internship is over, I trotted down to resign so I could go back to California. The director said, "Oh my God, don't do that. You'll completely wreck our budget." So for the next 3 years, I didn't show up one damn day for work. I was in California, 2,000 miles away from DC, and I got a paycheck every month from the Department of Education doing absolutely nothing for 3.5 years. That's what's wrong, and that was 50 years ago, and it's gotten worse.
Yes. So I want to play this clip here because I think this, and this is why people need to do their research about this one big beautiful bill. I think this is great, and people need to look more into this because it could help.
I just found something in the one big beautiful bill that I'm so excited about for Illinoisans. There is now a program called Workforce Pell. As a person who worked for the state's financial aid agency and worked in community colleges helping kids to gain access to financial aid funding to go to pursue trade school and to get shorter term degrees, I'm stoked. So what is Workforce Pell? Let's get into it. It almost got removed because the Senate parliamentarian said it violated the Byrd rule. So then they had to put in a provision to exclude unaccredited programs and for-profit institutions, which are, so now it got back in, and I am so excited. So what is Workforce Pell? Workforce Pell is new. It's been a discussion for a while, but it was very hard to get through under different leaders. But with Workforce Pell, it specifically caters for shorter term degrees. Traditional Pell grants, you have to be enrolled in like 600 hours to be eligible for a Pell Grant. But with the Workforce Pell, it's designed for shorter term degrees or shorter term training, so like 8 to 15 weeks. This means that people who want to go to school to get tech, different types of tech degrees, or to go to 2-year, schools to just pursue different careers that go directly into a trade, they now have a way to leverage Pell Grant. This is a win. This is a major win for our workforce. It's a major win for our young people. It is such a big win for people who need a career shift. Like, this is such a big deal. And I'm so upset that I don't see more people talking about this, because it's such a major shift, expanding Pell Grant this way, because it expands beyond just traditional four-year education, which really allows for America to get back to work. Trump, they said we were going to FAFO, and they're right. We are FAFO, and because you are doing exactly what we wanted you to do. And having this provision in one big, beautiful bill is such a big win for like the long-term trajectory of America. I'm just, thank you. Thank you.
There's a lot in the big, beautiful bill, and there's a lot that shouldn't be, because politics is politics, and people like to deliver to their constituents, and they have interests that are selfishly local. Now, when I enrolled 60 some years ago in UCLA as a freshman, there was no tuition. All through elementary, junior high, and high school, every year, every new semester, boys and girls, you hear in the first priority of California has always been to make sure that you got educated. In the entire history of California, never once has the educational budget been reduced. Usually it is increased above what is requested. You boys and girls are the state's investment in its future. When I went to UCLA, there was no tuition. There was $105.50, and that covered all free tickets to all concerts, athletic events, recreational functions, free eyeglasses, free prescription, free medical care, all services you needed. That was it. And the catalog was literally this thick. A certain somebody became governor, and he campaigned saying this is inappropriate. Too many of these folk are leftists, and they're commie sympathizers trying to destroy the country. They don't need a free education. Within 18 months, the catalog literally went down like that. And the tuition jumped from $56.50, which had been reduced per period at that point. It wound up being close to $800 within 18 months, a quarter, which in those days was quite a significant amount of money.
Well, that's all change.
So that, no, I'm just saying it started, but this person became enormously popular and got a lot of influence on the national level. And under his administration, we started seeing the first crowds of homelessness since the Great Depression. And schools no longer, public schools, state institutions were no longer educating children and young adults as part of the human infrastructure. The tuition started becoming ruinous, and those Pell grants and payback student loans started becoming enormous, because you didn't need them just to pay for your food and apartments. You needed them to pay for the tuition, and you were still on your own paying for how you were going to live.
Well, people in the chat, they're saying Ronald Reagan.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly who.
Right.
And I know he's Saint Ron the Raygun, Raygun. And I'm not one of these people who everything Republican is sacred. Reagan did a lot of stuff, and he basically was something else. I remember we were demonstrating, and on 3 separate occasions, 2 days running, we showed up to protest at his speechifications while he was running for governor. And each of those speech occasions, he said, I think the guy's name was Al, I can't seem to find my speech. I guess I'll have to wing it. And he dropped his pencil or pen the same place in each speech. He fumbled the same place. He made the same mess up, said the same thing, and we're looking at each other. This is a script. He's an actor. This isn't a speech. And he said the same thing. I talked to a White House chief of staff, and that individual informed me after we became friends that he had been chief of staff in the White House and he never met the president of the United States, though he had met the person known as Ronald Reagan. And he said Reagan was so off into what we accused Biden of being that he couldn't have been operating the government, and somebody was actually scripting out what was supposed to be done, and he was an actor, so we didn't have to worry about a real live ego running stuff. Somebody could script that apart, and all he had to do was play the part. Now, I'm not a Reagan fan. In other words, I'm agreeing with you. That's what the chat room said, is Ronald Reagan. I'm agreeing with you.
I want to swing back on topic.
But I'm talking about back to this.
I think this is, let me just say this. Let me talk. So this woman, when she's bringing up this workforce Pell Grant, I think that is great because a lot of people don't want to go to college for 4 years to get a degree. And a lot of those degrees, you ain't making much money. However, if you go to trade school, whether it's electrician, havoc, you'll start, that's the jobs now in their careers where people are starting off with 80,000, 6 figures, and it could even go higher, especially you open up your own business. So to cut through all of this, you need 600 hours of credits here. No, we're going to give you a Pell Grant so you could go straight to that trade school, get that certification, get that experience, and get right into the workforce. And you're making a living middle class, an actual real life middle class.
But you're not middle class. It's a trap.
I'm
AI
talking.
is going to replace these people.
No, they're not.
No, yeah. Hold on. Let me.
Wait. AI is not. Let me say this. AI is not going to replace my plumber.
Explain me.
AI is not going to replace havoc.
Explain. 1980 something, late 1980s. I was involved with a crew of lawyers. It involved a sporting goods location that was in Louisville, Kentucky. They had 3 shifts of 1,500 people per shift per day, 24-hour period. That's 4,500 people. I went and toured this factory as part of this lawsuit I was involved in. 7 years later, I went back as a guest speaker, keynote speaker, and this same company was sponsoring a community reach out. Instead of 4,500 employees, they had 280 because they had totally automated and fired all of these 4,500 people, told them to go get screwed because automation had replaced them. Now, what's happened is 4,000 plus people lost their jobs because some people wanted to be billionaires before they got 50. And they accomplished it. But they were out of work. They lost mortgages. They lost the money that they had put in savings so that they could retire and send their kids through school. All kinds of stuff happened. They were counting on training up their nephew to drive a forklift like they did, or working in the fields like she's talking, not the fields, but in the type of things that she's talking about. And they got pink slips after 19 years, 28 years that said, goodbye, sucker. Thank you for your efforts, but we're downsizing for corporate profitability. That's been happening all across the country. Now, what's happening with AI?
So you're talking about corporations. And
I know, but the point is we are deep into an episode of everything's got to be privatized. And our problem, which is unique in the industrialized world, whether you're talking about China, Japan, Europe, it doesn't make any difference, is we have said it is the business of private enterprise, not government. And what is that? These people who have been made obsolete by developing technology, computerization, and what it has done to the industrial circumstances of the country. It's not the government's responsibility. It's private enterprise, and private enterprise is totally neglected. Like Japan.
So then what? No. So then what is, when we're talking about education, so then you're telling me if you go to trade school is useless?
Yeah, no, it's not useless in the short term. but you have to understand that
So then what is useful?
Okay, what is useful is this, is in a period of time from 1934 to 1944, they had airplanes that had maxed out at 140 miles an hour, 160 miles an hour. They were now worried about breaking the sound barrier in 10 years. In 10 more years, you had breaking the sound barrier, and in 15 after that point, you had the X-15 that went 4,005.
Come on.
No, in other words, there is an exponential increase in what's happening with technology.
So let me ask you this. Wait, let me ask you this then. Let's stay on airplanes. Did the workforce in the airplane industry increase or decrease throughout the centuries and the decades?
Decreased.
No, it increased.
No, it didn't.
Yes, it
For
did.
example, the United States built 14,800 B-24 bombers. The equivalent today would be B-1s. We built 99. The B-29.
What about commercial? No,
I'm
that's
talking
military planes.
I mean, but
I'm
they
talking
spend more money on
let's
the
talk about
military.
commercial planes.
Hold on. They spend more money on the military than they do on the commercial. We made almost 4,000 plus B-29 bombers. We've only made 21 B-2s. So in other words,
that's military.
Yeah, I know. But in other words, we spend more money on the military than we do on these other things.
Did the commercial, this is
Okay,
let me be specific. Did commercial airplane industry workforce increase or decrease?
Decreased.
The commercial, it increased.
20 years ago.
Wait, no, stop, Judge.
Look,
I can't
hold
listen.
on.
No.
Personal eyewitness.
No, stop.
I'm
Wait,
tell
slow
you
down
about
for 1
it.
second. Judge, please just slow down, because we're low on time. So no more stories right now.
No, look,
This
it's
is
a
the point that I'm
story.
trying to
It
make.
explains what you're saying. Boeing aircraft used to bring me up to Renton, Washington to work on their community reach out. 25 years ago in 2000, I toured their huge factory. I witnessed, eyeballed how many people they had there. 4 years later, I've been going continuously. I remarked to one of the engineers, I said, where did all you people go? He said, we don't need them now. We don't need the employee workforce we had just 4 years ago. We can build a 737 in 18 hours from start to finish, but we usually take 3 days because we don't want to work our machinery. That I said, well, it used to take. He said, we don't need all those people. So this is Boeing, and that's an exact thing answering to your question about are they employing more? No, they're not. I eyeballed the biggest aircraft manufacturer in the country and the layoffs they had in personnel. I can't hear you.
Okay, you can hear me now. There have been layoffs in different industries for sure, but I'm talking about from the time one airplane was created to what we have today, the workforce has increased. Even though we've had layoffs throughout the decades, we have more airlines than ever before, and I'm talking about commercial. I'm not talking about the military. So even with the military, when you're building less of that and more of this, yes, technology has changed and it makes it more advanced, which means it's not a robot. You still need engineers. You still need, stop, please don't. You talk for a very long time tonight. So let me just talk. Let me get my thoughts out. So you still need engineers. You still need people that are certified, whether it's computer software in the tech. Tech is trade. It's not, you could get a degree. People who get degrees in the tech sector, they want to be a manager. A lot of people I know that major in tech, they're getting different certifications because you make more money the more certifications you have. So tech is technically a trade. So going back to this original topic of the workforce Pell grant, It's not just for the plumbers and the havocs, even though it's for them too, and they make hella money. It is for people wanting to major in technology and get certifications, not a degree. Because these industries, whether it's airline or whether it's automotive, you still need people that know how to operate the technology.
Yeah. Now, back on what you say, science, technology, engineering, and math, the most difficult academic tracks you can get into. You have to be into calculus, higher order math, and math analysis in order to deal with those fields. All right. Those jobs are still valuable. But even in that industry, it's going down. I used to represent.
No, no more.
I used to represent.
I need to wait. We got 15 more minutes, and I want to go to another topic.
I know, but all I'm saying is the airline, the numbers of airlines have gone down. The number of personnel has gone down. The airline services have dropped in terms of flights, number of flights I was referring to, and a lot of other things over the last 20 some years significantly.
All right.
In the major fields, you used to have many large aircraft firms. Now they have consolidated and they have downsized. So you have many fewer people involved in this. But when you're talking about aircraft, we're talking about still requiring engineering. What she's talking about in the short term will get you a job. And when I counsel students, I always say, do two things with your academic opportunities while you're in college. Do something, take some courses that'll get you an immediate job right now, and then take other stuff that will prepare you for the long-term situation. So that's not anything against what I've been preaching, but I'm just saying it will get you a job.
Yeah.
It will get you a job right now, but what she's talking about in the long term will kill you off.
No, what she's talking about is what you just said. Get you a job right now, and to save, instead of you having to pay for it out of pocket, get that workforce Pell Grant to get into a trade school to get you a job right now. Once you get working, then if you want to go back for your degree or advance yourself, do so. So it helps you. In other words, you don't have an excuse to say, well, I can't afford college. No, it's a Pell Grant, workforce Pell Grant for you to go get a trade and you can get a job now and then save your money up and then go back to college and do something else.
Right now.
Let's go on to the next topic.
Just very briefly, this is good for the public to hear.
Please don't tell another story.
Just bear with me. Right now, I've got people out in my backyard digging up a root system on a tree that was blown down on the tail end of a tornado. All right. They are viable. We need that. We're all ever digging the ground for right now. So there is a need. Illegals, anybody else is into that, that's good for them. But soon we will have devices that we don't need hot bodies going to dig in the ground.
That ain't gonna be for another 100 years.
Now, that's it. So the bottom line is that is an exception.
Well, that's not gonna be for another 100 years.
No, that's not another 100 years. That's 10.
They're not. First of all, they're 10. Not. They're 10. Not. No, it's 10. Not. You know why? I disagree with you right there. You know why? They're not even updating these airlines. They're so cheap. These corporations. They're not even updating the basic necessities on these planes.
When I dealt with going to Los Angeles, when I started my show, there was a flight direct from Memphis to Los Angeles, nonstop, every hour and a half. Now there are 2 per day, and there are 3 other ones that you have to go in. You get another airplane, and they charge you more because they charge you.
All right. I need to bring this last topic in. I don't want to
go ahead, but these are important things.
No, it is.
But you wasted time on Beyonce.
No, I didn't. Hold on. No, honey, somebody to mute you. No, I did not. No, I'm going to mute you up.
Support their families themselves.
No. We're not doing that reverse psychology. No, honey.
No,
you wasted
time on Beyonce.
No, I did not.
Fractions I was
No.
talking about relevant stuff. Now we get cut off on the things that count
No.
for people because this is how they feed themselves.
Absolutely
and
not.
Now let's
You
move.
wanna sit up here and tell these little long stories
Nah, well, they are
and go
important
down
stories
Yellow Brick
because
Road.
they are the product of somebody operating at the top of the heap for 50 years and seeing these things that most people never get exposed to. They need to know because the press, this idiot that I was pointing out, I said, is she the reporter or is she the person being interviewed? She was talking bullshit and she could not advise the public. So we are advising the public. I have a doctorate degree. I've done as much as anybody out there, and there are other people that way. We don't get heard. We hear from bullshit artists who are entertainers masquerading as reporters. The American public needs to hear us. That's what I'm doing. But you wanted to talk about Beyonce.
Yes, because it was very educational.
I know Beyonce is an educational, and we need more education. Now, let's go to the next topic.
We're going to go to the next topic. And then I am going to everybody, I am going to read the super chats of people that sent in super chats. Please hit the like button and share this video and support the platform. And another FYI, those of you who say, oh, let him speak, stop cutting him off or whatever. No, I'll push the conversation along, and y'all the main ones who don't donate. So just sit there and be quiet and stay in that chat, honey. All right. So question. Remember we spoke about this briefly the other day, and I said I was going to ask you this question. It's just a straightforward question. Black Americans at the White House. Then from, let's say, 1970 going all the way back to 1865, then versus now, Black Americans at the White House. There's a big difference. Can you break that down?
Yeah, we had Frederick Douglass at the White House way back 170, 160 years ago, who helped write the 13th, 14th, and 5th Amendments and would admonish Lincoln about the problems that came up from what Lincoln was trying to do. We had him going over to Europe to cut off the Johnny Rebs from getting equipment to pursue the Civil War more efficiently. Then we had Booker T. Washington, who was kind of like the late 19th, early 20th century edition of Al Sharpton, who seems to be a hero now because of propaganda that has downplayed W.E.B. Du Bois to being a villain. And anyway, we've had black folk in the White House for a long time, but the problem is that right now, unfortunately, Trump is not a career politician. He was a businessman. He was a man behind the throne with politics, basically on the Democrat Party side. Now he co-opted the Republican Party. He set up MAGA, which could become a viable third party, which would be in everybody's best interest if it did. But right now, he's not really conversant with what happens in the middle. And there are people in the middle that have been brought in to try and compensate for that. But instead of doing it enthusiastically, they have said, we have positions of power, so we're going to be gatekeepers. And although that might be something vital to advancing the interest of the republic and everybody concerned, we are going to be selfish and we're going to restrict access to the higher echelons so that we can maintain our own little personal fiefs of power. And that is bad for the Trump administration, and something needs to be done about it. Otherwise, it'll fail. Now, right now, wow.
There are no Black Americans in the White House speaking for Black America.
Yes, there are.
Who? Right, I'm talking about right now.
Yes, there are. Think about it.
Tell me the punchline.
Think about it. Alice Johnson for pardons. Kim Kardashian for being the expert on sentencing reform.
That's why I said, give me the punchline.
Hubby, who is supposed to be the expert on this, that, and the other. In other words, everybody who is an entertainer one of your Beyonce types, and she's one of the better ones, who don't know shit about a damn thing that is relevant to governance. They have become the resident experts.
And that's the problem that I have, because when you look at other groups who represent their group at the White House, they're getting things done for their group.
Well, it's PR. That helps. That is a stage in the political process to deal with PR circumstances so you can be heard, so the public likes you. That is important. And people do follow Trump because he's a man, a real man. He's not one of these sissies that says it's good to put boys in sports bras and panties and let them compete against the girls and beat them up and go into the girls' bathroom so they can pull their dicks out and piss in the girls' bathrooms and get off on their sick fantasies. See, we have a man who's saying no. We have a man who's talking about 50% of the human race is not enough. We have to have 100%. We've got to put all of it back into the mix. That's a good thing. And you see, it compensates for a lot of sickness that has gone on. And we have our propaganda mechanisms that are telling a lie long and loud, and that will have its results. So people believe that as though it's a reality. And we have to overcome it. And that's what I'm trying to do. And that's what you do from time to time. Recognize it and embrace it. You're one of those people who defeats the lie. Now, that's it.
So this article here about the New York Times, it says it's time to let go of African American. That term African American, right? I'll call myself Black American. Is it, so the question is, should we keep it or eliminate it? The African American. We went from being a slave to, what was it, being colored, Negro, and African American. And so
my answer to that is screw you. It's my goddamn business as to what I choose to call myself, and I don't give a flying F what you think I ought to call me. I'm not a damn dog or a biological specimen you can apply a Latin term to designating. All right?
Do you call yourself African American?
I call myself Afro-American. I call myself Black. See, Black is a nice generic term, and it embraces a certain concept. So they're white, brown, black, red, yellow. We all came out of Mother Africa. Some went to Europe and got pale white. Some went to Asia, got yellow. Some went from Asia to the New World, America, and they got red. Some came back around from Europe who were white, and they got brown. So we're all from Mother Africa, and if we keep interbreeding, because humans don't like to stop screwing, they like to do the wild thing, and we tend to mix it up. So soon we'll be back the way we were in the ancestral condition, which is kind of dark brown with whatever we had, and we'll all be human. So there you go.
Yeah, well,
wow, we whoopee, and I identify right now as the Black component. So go to hell if you don't like it. I don't.
Who created that? Well, it wasn't Jesse Jackson, was it?
No, it wasn't. We were
He popularized it.
It's the way it went is my grandparents called people colored. Then in my parents' generation, my old man was born in 1910 and my mama was born in 1917. They started saying Negro, which was a Spanish thing anyway. And then we got rid of Negro about 1966 and started saying Black. And then about 1967, it started becoming Afro-American or Black, your choice. Mm-hmm. Now, in the late 1970s, Afro-American kind of morphed into African-American. Jesse Jackson didn't start it. It was just a thing that happened. Urban mythology says Jesse did it, but it wasn't Jesse. It was colored, Negro, Black, Afro-American, Black, African-American. And I started about 5 years ago. I said, wait a minute. I don't buy into that crap. I started using black. And then, interestingly enough, within 5 or 6 months, everybody was saying black. You see, there's a truth about media, and that is almost 60 years ago, you could start a trend in 6 weeks. Now it just takes 6 days, and sometimes I experiment and deliberately see if I can start a trend. It takes about 4 or 5 days for it to start. I don't make a big deal of it, but
Yeah, I think, but you know what? The problem, I don't use African American. Don't call me African American. Don't call me colored or Negro. You know, I identify as American, but to be more specific, I am a Black American. However, you
by
have
the way, get your DNA done and see what else is in it.
okay. So it's a lot of infiltrators too when you use when the term African Americans, because you have Mandani, the guy who's running for mayor in New York.
Who the hell is he?
He's the
I know who he is, but who the hell is he? He's a nobody. He hasn't been vetted.
Let me finish.
Okay, go
So
ahead.
he's running for mayor of New York, but throughout when he was applying for scholarships and applying to college, he checked off African American and Asian. So he was double, triple dipping. So people he was born in Uganda. I think he was raised, I don't know, in Europe, then came here or whatever. But his lineage, his DNA is Indian. But because people outsiders, I say, non-foundational Black Americans, they know they could take advantage of that term African American and receive resources. And that is why I do not identify with African American. And we foundational Black Americans, Black Americans, need our own separate box.
Well, you don't need your own separate box. Let me tell you what the trap is. The next time you fill out a federal form, you will notice that up front there are 2 boxes. One says Hispanic, non-Hispanic. If you check non-Hispanic, you go to the next several boxes and it'll ask you if you're African American or Black, Caucasian or white, so-and-so, Pacific Islander, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But if you checked Hispanic, you could be all of those. Now, I have a tailor, great tailor. She's blonde hair, blue eyed, but she's from Argentina, and she's 70 some years old. And her parents are from formerly Nazi Germany. So she's an Argentine. She's classified as Hispanic, but they don't deal with the fact that she's got straight up and down blonde hair, blue eyed, white. She is a Hispanic. You see, that is an artifact that they use to manipulate the situation. If you speak English as a native language, then you have to deal with, are you Black, African American, white, Caucasian, or et cetera, et cetera. My stepmother checked, well, she's dead now, but she checked off Hispanic. She also should have been required to check off Asian, because she is almost exclusively Hispanic, not Hispanic, but Chinese in her ancestry. She just happens to live in the Philippines. So since she speaks habla español muy bien, she is classified as Hispanic when she's a typical Chinese person. You see how that works?
No, I see how it works. This is why I don't. Yeah, and this is why I don't. Me personally, I don't.
I don't have any problems with it.
So
but the thing of it is when you don't check African American, Black, etc., there are some consequences in terms of political, economic, and other advantages that evaporate. They're trying to discourage people to check off what they are because of the way money is expended or allocated.
Okay. All right, so let me get to some super chats here. Thank you, Walter. Walter, he comes early, honey. Thank you so much. And thank you, Regina. She sent in a Cash App small token amount for the show. Thank you so much. Thank you. Philip says, you can't get this kind of comedy. Thank you both. That was earlier when we was talking about the Beyonce thing. Thank you, Prometheus Forever. Miss Karen Bass was played a significant role, or has played a significant role with the then Saremos Brigade, a group linked to Cuba's communist regime. In 1973,
Brigade, that's Fidel and Shay.
and
He was fond of wearing T-shirts with Che Guevara's image on it with his beret.
In 1973, she was trained in terrorist revolutionary tactics.
I don't know if she was trained in all that, but she wishes she was. She was a little junior flip in 1973.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Agent, for the lovely comment. Free Game says, hi, Judge. I want to become a lawyer. Do you think it's a good career in 2025 and beyond with
You're
AI?
good and you
Let me finish.
I'm reading.
No, let me read it to the audience.
Okay, go ahead.
Hey, Judge, I want to become a lawyer. Do you think it's a good career in 2025 and beyond with AI? And what are some good books for beginners for law?
It's something AI is not likely to replace anytime soon. What you are as a lawyer is a specialist in generalities and solving problems that need resolution. You should be ideally somebody who becomes accomplished, wise, learned and experienced in the law and wise in the ways of the world. If I were you, I'd take all the English courses I could take so you can learn to communicate in writing effectively. If you want to be a good lawyer, it's not about money. It's not about trying to take what you have and turn it into a business. It's still supposed to be a professional, and your job is to be part of the aristocracy that makes a system like the United States function. You're supposed to rock the hell out of the boat when necessary and resist temptation to reinforce the status quo. You are the nobility for a system like ours, but too many forget that. So find something when you get out of law school that gives you the opportunity to get your internship and residence together. Join the public defender's office, join a prosecutor's office, a governmental office where you will get maximum trial experience and learn how to deal with people directly. It's not all about making money. You might defray that. You'll make more money in the long term. Now, that said, good luck.
And also with the AI, AI is not going to be taking over the law because there have been judges who have called out lawyers who tried to hand in a brief written by AI. So, like you said, got to learn how to write. You got to learn how to read. And
it's a gestalt, an intuitive thing that so far AI is not able to duplicate. So it's sort of like, this feels wrong. See, the law has some concepts, very briefly. It's better for 100 guilty men to go free than one innocent man be convicted. We forget that. All right? It's about the business of it feels wrong, because when the reason for the law ceases to exist, so much application of the law. It's about the spirit of the law more so than the letter of the law. And the law is an imperfect thing because it's only stating general principles, not firm and absolute conditionals. Now, that's it. Good luck.
All right. And let me just address this little troll. Dana, stop interrupting the judge. Judge is a national treasure. And even in his rambling counts, his stories are important and it helps young men like myself. That's not my fucking problem, Brian.
Baby, stop it. This is bad.
No, that he was a troll. Let me see what I gotta say. Listen, honey, I really don't give a damn.
I'm glad you.
I don't give a damn if you want. I don't care if you want to hear him rambling. I'm on a 2-hour time frame, and you got to move it along. Now,
let me put
let me say this to Brian real quick, and anyone like Brian, right? If you want to hear him rambling, then how about you pay this man to ramble?
Okay, I'm not rambling. Hold on, I'm not rambling.
And that's it. Yeah, he said you were rambling. That's he
No,
don't realize
listen,
he was
listen,
insulting you.
Listen. When you study law, you no longer study it the old time way. You had Black's law, and Black had numbered lists of what the principles of law were. We no longer study it that way. You read case law. In other words, you study historical anecdotes so you understand the law. I'm giving you what is for me a series of historic anecdotes, examples, so you understand the law. That's what law is founded on. That's what case law is about. They are examples of real life situations that you can look at and say, oh, the light bulb goes on. I get it. That's why we have this principle of law right now. So all I'm doing when I supposedly ramble on is I'm just giving you what they do in law school when they teach young students how to be lawyers. You give historical anecdotes so they get the point.
Thank you, Free Game. Judge, why is family court judges are so difficult to deal with and biased against the man? Good question.
Because most of them have insufficient experience in the practical application and practice of law. Being head of a domestic court is kind of a joke if you are a good lawyer.
Okay. So you're saying that family court judges don't know much about the law?
If they had the trial work, if they had the client list, they wouldn't be in a position of accepting being a domestic court judge.
Well, what's wrong with a family court judge?
Because they're at the low end of the totem pole.
But you need them.
No, but you really don't. They are a politically correct phenomenon.
So then who will give judgment down for child support and kids and family court?
You don't need them because you already have the mechanism. Most states have the equivalent of a superior court or circuit court judge. And what you need to do is simply create more of them and get the experience level that goes with that. When you have these domestic courts, you're paying them the same as a circuit or chancery court or superior court judge. You're paying them the same. But what happens is you tend to get people like some who are television judges or famous ones. They graduate from law school, they practice doing what they're doing for a few months, get appointed quickly as a judgeship, and 3 or 4 years later, they get locked into it, and years afterwards, they have no experience. They've never tried a jury case, never handled an appeal. They've done nothing that has influenced the ordinary course of humanity that would come through the courts in their system. They get appealed and the case is tried all over because they're looked at as unreliable triers of fact. They get attitudes, but they might become people who are on TV later and they're listened to. So basically, they aren't exactly the exemplars of what needs to be done in the system. So instead of having domestic courts, you just need to have the regular courts and stop wasting money on amateurs who are handling domestic matters and spend the money on experienced trial lawyers who have decided to retire and become judges. It's like being a great baseball player, you decide to become an umpire. Or do you hire somebody who has never done anything except being in a softball league as a major league umpire? to handle World Series events.
All right. So listen, I would say your best bet if you when we doing these shows and you got a question and it has to do with law or whatever, yes, send it via super chat because I don't pay attention to the comments or the questions that you just type in the chat. That is for you guys to engage amongst one another. So, people who complaining, y'all could leave because y'all can easily be replaced. Bye. I don't care. You listeners are replaced every hour in the algorithm. But if you want to ask him a question, why they do this? What does this mean? Ask him, but ask him when we do
Look,
the show
ask
via super chat.
the last time was in a position where people asked me questions on a business level, it was $3,500 an hour minimum. All right.
Right. So instead of complaining, y'all need to send in a $5 minimum, $10 and say, hey, Judge, what about XYZ?
I don't get any money out of this. Dana gets everything. I just volunteer.
Please stop telling people that. Just
I
stop.
like her. She's trying to do the right thing.
Well, it's not even.
Try
And
to
too,
correct
this
her.
is,
So
and
anyway,
this is what you
ask
don't
me the
understand.
question.
This is work. I have to edit
Ask me
after
the
this.
question. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's work. It's work.
This
But
is work.
I did the work to put in my head what's up there. So that's what you want to hear. She does this stuff where while she's getting now, you have a question, ask me, and if you should donate so she can keep doing this.
So, but here's the thing, though. So
instead of being contrary. Now ask me.
Right, but here's the thing, Judge.
What do you want to know?
Here's the thing. Well, we're about to wrap up. But people say, "Oh, let him talk," and that's what pisses me off with society today, with technology, with this social media, because people just want, okay, I just want to sit and hear him, because they appreciate what you're saying, but stop wanting to hear someone, quote unquote, what Brian says, rambling, and start
I
asking.
don't ramble. I'm teaching. I used to do this, and I was an adjunct professor.
I know. Let me just finish what I was saying. What I'm saying
I
is,
teach.
right.
And I'm trying to teach you. So
Right.
don't look, rookies.
Let me
don't
finish.
talk to the
Can I finish
expert
what I'm
and
saying?
say what he's doing. I know exactly what I'm doing, and it works. Now,
Let me finish what I was saying.
go ahead.
The purpose of trying to learn, you need to be interactive. You need to ask questions. And if you're not asking why or saying, can you explain this? You're not learning. I don't care how long you listening to somebody. So stop complaining, stop just listening, and start participating. So that's what I'm saying. But that you got to do that via super chat.
Type it in. Let's see what you
No, type it in the super chat.
Well, whatever in the hell they call it. If you have a question, ask me.
All right. So that's it though for tonight.
Okay, good. No questions.
Well, they waited to the very end, and
well, see, the way I look at this, that's all true if you're talking about a production. But the problem is, I got to go to the store out here to get something, and I got to go deal with these streets. And there are thugs and idiots out there that I'll have to deal with, and it's damnably inconvenient. And I don't want to cop a case having to deal with a fool. So that's the reality. I want to deal with
I hope he never comes back to your show, honey. We've been doing this for 3 years, over 3 years. So you late.
But anyway,
you 3 years too late.
But anyway, bottom line is that the way I look at it, from my perspective, I'll be dead soon enough.
So y'all better ask questions now, but send it via super chat.
No, this is a point. When I was 20 years old, I thought this was a forever point. It'd never get there. I was astonished at how quickly you get from 20 to where I am. Doesn't take long at all. So quit wasting your time and improve yourself, because the only way you will be at peace with yourself is to be able to look in the mirror and say, hey, I did try to improve myself. I did try to do better. And unless I do better and other people do better and I encourage them to do it, it's still going to be shit on the dead end when the sun rises. And that's what's out there in the streets. It's dark right now where I am in Memphis, Tennessee. This is the most violent and dangerous city in the United
Now
States.
where you live at?
In the 10th most violent city in the whole world. So it's out there and people aren't dealing with it. So I think about it because, hey man, what's going on? Yeah. When you gonna let me drive my new car? In your dreams when your ass is dead, fool. Huh? Now get out of my face. Now, see, that's a reality I run into just going to put gas in my tank so I can go get a late night snack.
The judge is not going to live to 100. Y'all, so that, and that's why I love messing with the people in the chat. Well,
let's put it this
he
way.
won't be on YouTube. Even if he lives to 100, he will not be on YouTube.
I know. I had one grandmother made it 96, one grandfather 102, and another one 104.
All right, so this is the last question. It's like family court judges don't have a grip on due process. Criminal court judges understand and honor due process.
Yeah, that's right. I'd agree 100%. Not always, but mostly on balance.
Okay. All right, Judge. Say goodnight.
That was very wise. I'd be interested to see how you came up with that conclusion, good sir or good madam. I didn't see whether you're male or female.
It's free game. I'm assuming that it's a
like
man.
Female when he talks about game, which would be athletics or some kind of physical prowess. Yeah. Good deduction, logical deduction, Adams. I say, the old fellow, quite that.
All right, say goodnight, Judge.
Elementary, my dear Watson, elementary.
Oh, and Todd, honey. This could be a one-woman show, best believe. Because I bring in views too. You better go check out Dana with the Data podcast. Thank you.
Reach out and touch me. Verify that your senses deceive you not. I am he whom you seek. I have come as manifest, as promised and prophesied. Your fondest dreams, hopes, and imaginings have become true and manifest in the flesh. Yeah, all that.
All right, did you say goodnight?
Cute, didn't it?
Say goodnight.
Yeah, good night.
Bye, guys.